Today's show is sponsored by DistilleryProducts.com, your number one source for laser etch customized glassware. If you're a distillery, you probably already know about them. If you're a bourbon group or a store, what are you waiting for? Reach out to me. I'd love to get you in touch with Carson, Janie, Vicky, all the folks over at DistilleryProducts.com. They hook us up with glasses. We want them to hook you up with glasses too, because they're really good. I mean, it's the good stuff. It's not going to come off when you put it through the dishwasher, if that's how you wash your glasses, because this is deep cut into your glass. They have all sorts of things besides Glens. They have Glens too, but branch out. Check out some of the other stuff they have. I love the Perfect Dram. Find them at distilleryproducts.com. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to get you in touch with them. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends over at Orca Coolers, and they're going to help you make this the coolest summer ever. You know why? Because every dad wants an awesome cooler to have at the barbecue, if you're camping, no matter where you're going, and they have it. You want to be the envy of your barbecue party? Go ahead and do it. They have an Orca barrel tumbler. I mean, the thing looks like a whiskey barrel. It's stainless steel. It is the perfect vessel for your top shelf whiskey or any beverage. The Orca barrel will keep your drink cool and fresh for up to 24 hours too. So like you could leave it there out in the hot sun all day. It's gonna be okay. Orca coolers are also a necessity for the summer backyard get-togethers, lake days, and everything in between. They're roto molded and have integrated insulation, so they're going to retain ice for days on end. I know this because I've tried it. Go to orcacoolers.com and use the code DADS20 for 20% off your order. That is orcacoolers.com. Use code DADS20. You're going to get 20% off your order. Orca for all of life's adventures. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends over at Action 24/7. And if you want action, get in on the action with Action 24/7. Tennessee's only sports book by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. I mean, I could tell you there's other sports going on right now. I could tell you that there is NBA, there's NHL, there's soccer, there's table tennis, but y'all know it's March Madness. So I know what you're doing. Use code DADS100. They will match up to $100 of your first deposit. They have all sorts of other cool things with promotions going on and things if you bet on soccer or if you bet on the NHL. I mean, but it's March Madness. So go to action247.com. You never know what is going to happen. That is what I love about March, and that's what I love about March Madness. Who's going to be the Cinderella this year? Get in on the action with Action 24/7. Use code DADS100.
Why would they remake Coming to America and not Beverly Hills Cop?
And that's a great question. And if you've seen Coming to America 2, I wish they made Beverly Hills Cop. It wasn't, I mean, it was good. It was funny. I just don't think, like, I wanted more Tracy Morgan. Just didn't have the magic the first one had.
No, I mean, remakes often fail. So, I mean, as much as I'll complain about it, a large degree of me is happy that they haven't. Because, I mean, I don't know if Taggart's even still alive.
Well, what do you mean they haven't? They made like 4 Beverly Hills Cops.
They weren't remakes. They were sequels or subsequent showing.
And Coming to America 2 was a sequel of Coming to America.
It was so far apart, you have to call that a remake or a reboot or whatever.
It was a reboot, maybe.
Something.
All right, can we start the show now?
Hey, I tried to, and you didn't roll the tape.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. How are you, my friend?
I mean, at this very instance, when people are listening, I would like to say I'm going to be debating if I'm in better or worse shape than you. But I got to think it's probably going to be better, especially if this comes out at night or everybody listens at night, because you're going to be just like worn out and dilapidated by like 4:30.
You don't understand what I did, because what I did here is the first day we're in the hotel, so I just get to enjoy the hotel pool. Then it's 2 days on Disney property. And then the last day we're at the hotel again, just enjoying the pool.
So you're not at the hotel while you're at Disney? You sleeping in like a bungalow or a tent?
No, we're at we're on Disney property the whole time. We're not in the park all 4 days. So one day we're in the hotel, 2 days we're in the park, and then the last day we're just in the hotel again.
Are you staying in the same hotel room all 4 days?
Yes. I don't understand how this doesn't make sense to you. We're just going to hang out in the hotel one day, then 2 days we're going to go hang out in the park, and then the last day we're going to hang out in the hotel again.
I think this is more of an at than an in kind of thing, because in the hotel is just like sitting in your room like with the door locked doing nothing, whereas at the hotel there's at least activities.
Why are you arguing semantics like a little ass?
Because when you tell me the story, I paint a picture in my head. And in the hotel, I just picture you being stuck in a hotel.
No, because you forgot. I mean, if you want to pay attention to details, I would have said in the hotel room. In the hotel is talking about the hotel on a big scale, like any place in the hotel.
Well, I will end this strange topic with, I hope that the hotel has a champagne room and that maybe you end up in it at some point.
I'm going to end up in the gym at the hotel. That's the only thing. Gym and pool. That's pretty much it.
Like Tommy Boy and have you seen the weight room pool?
100%. Anyways, today we are drinking Buzzard's Roost Straight Rye. It is MGP distillate, but this was created by Jason Bronner, the co-owner of Bourbon's Bistro in Louisville, Kentucky. And anybody knows that Bourbon's Bistro is a great bourbon bar in Louisville. And the bourbon was originally sourced by MGP. Later, it was rebarreled in brand new charred oak barrels that were custom ordered to Buzzard's Roost specifications. This is 3 years old, 105 proof. You know it's MGP. It's straight rye. The mash bill's undisclosed. I don't think that this is 95.5 when all is said and done. I mean, I have to think some of this is blended because just the way it tastes to me, but that's a different story altogether. What are your thoughts?
We only have 2 rye mashes, right? That most of us know about anyway, or I know about at least. If I know about a third, then I forgot about it. And that second rye, I thought was a pretty low rye, but that's also much more recently made, I was thinking.
There's a 51% rye and then a 95.5. I mean, I don't know if it's the Rossville thing off the top of my head. There is a 51% rye, 45% corn, 4% barley malt. That is...
Well, I mean by Rossville, like MGP started doing their own labels. They're putting some of their own juice out on their own. They have a rye product. Isn't it that the Rossville line? I mean... Whatever that line is, it has the other rye mash bill.
So it is a blend of the 51% and the 95% in Rossville.
Oh, where'd you find that all of a sudden?
Pretty damn good at looking things up quickly.
But are you as good as quickly closing out that screen?
No, my bourbon room has a lock on it.
You never know when the dogs are going to come in there.
What did you think about this whiskey, Zeke Baker?
Admittedly, working through this while bullshitting, and good and bad, the more we bullshit, the harder it is to think about what I'm doing. But nose-wise, I put down Rice Krispies and rye. And where I'm going with Rice Krispies is, when you kind of first, crack open that thing, you really get kind of the richness of the corn and stuff in there. But you also pick up the malt just freshly coming off those because they're just, so like covered in it. And I think that's what I pick up is that kind of rich, sugary malt aspect with the rye beneath it. My first notes on tasting this, and I will most likely write more when I punt the ball to you in a second. I just put down it's sweet, rich, and tart. Apples is the first thing that comes to mind. I think that's pretty much by default. It could be green or red or even a blend to play on the blend theme of 95.5 and the other 51% mash. But as far as what I would call a typical rye profile, or more importantly, what a lot of us would think as a typical MGP rye profile, I don't think this really comes to mind. And now I'm going to go for round 2 while you're on the clock.
So I will say there are aspects of this that I absolutely believe are 95.5. So when I first took a sip of this, there's hints of the wintergreen and the pine. It's just not super pronounced. the first thing I thought of, and I know this mash bill is undisclosed, the first thing I thought of was this has to be a blend or something's different. And I would say it's like the wintergreen and the pine mixed with a little unsweet tea and a little bit of oak. And that's the way I would sum that. And it was just enough to take the biting of the wintergreen and pine that I normally don't like with a 95.5. Like whatever they did to this was the perfect amount to set it back to make me really enjoy it. Like, and we all know that I'm not a big 95.5 guy, just enough off kilter that I'm like, I could really enjoy this most nights. It's a good pour. I'm in.
So working back through here, the only thing I kind of pick up different wise is I don't get much pine out of this really. I do get some of that kind of tackiness that's in some of the 95.5 rye where it is sticky, almost like pine sap, but I don't necessarily taste that element. But I think it really shows at the finish a big strong jolt of cinnamon with some wintergreen, kind of like Wrigley's and Big Red put together or something. But that really jumps out at the finish. I think it's almost kind of it moves towards its rye features very passively. The front end I don't think shows a whole lot, but then like I say right there at the finish, it just kind of jumps up and tags you a little bit, reminding you, oh yeah, you're drinking a rye product, buddy.
I get that.
The other thing I wonder that at least I paid attention to in your play-by-player stats was the rebarreling. I think it'd be interesting to see what type of, char or toast or if anything else was unique about this, because clearly if they mention it, they felt it was important enough to be a necessary step in their process.
Well, they didn't mention it. Other people mentioned it. They don't really have a website to talk about this.
Well, somebody let the cat out of the bag. Either way, if it's out there, then that's an interesting step that clearly a lot of places don't take or feel necessary. But if they did, then I think it would be an interesting topic to hear, what led them to that step in their process.
Well, actually, they do talk about it on their website. So they start by sourcing the best aged whiskey we can find, but the real magic is in our barrels. We use only brand new 53-gallon white oak barrels that are carefully toasted and very lightly charred. Each one is designed from the ground up to deliver a specific flavor profile. We work closely with our cooperage to tweak every parameter of the barrel, from the seasoning to the charring to the development of our custom toast profiles. All of our barrels are unique and proprietary to our company, giving Buzzard's Roost truly one-of-a-kind flavor. After resting only a few weeks in our new barrels, the whiskey is purposefully transformed and ready for bottling.
I'm not completely blown away by the whiskey, but that aside, to a different and larger discussion we've had off and on for a few shows now, more and more people are going to be getting juice from similar or the same sources. So more of it's going to taste quite similar. Here's people that, openly and admittedly sourcing, which is great. Then taking it a step further by blending two different mash bills, then even going one step further and doing a unique rebarrel process.
Well, and we don't know if they blend. I want to make sure. We don't know. It tastes like a blend to me.
It may not be. Some of the 4-year stuff that I've had through NBC, I get a huge Washington red apple component out of it. I mean, I've really liked some of it as a completely unique product almost to me, and that's 95.5 as well. Either way, kind of the point I just wanted to, think about was, this is where you're really taking distilling out of the question and not focusing on that as far as what you can do, what kind of product you can kind of deliver. But this is taking all the other factors and as well as incorporating your own or others' palates, so to speak, and really doing everything else to, more or less the same, product that other people are starting with.
Fair. I think there's something to be said, and I think Chattanooga has kind of taught us that toasting and charring is something that really imparts different flavors on the whiskey, and don't count it out. Like, don't discount it. I think that it really plays a big role how much you char and how much you toast the barrel prior to aging whiskey in it.
I mean, everybody's playing with it. Look at Heaven Hill. I mean, last year's Parkers, as well as the only new Elijah Craig release in some time or both of those toasted. So it's something on everybody's radar. The big boys may not be as quick to put it out or deviate from the mainstream and their main financial pipelines. It's clearly stuff that everyone's thought about. And as the bourbon boom just keeps moving, everyone's looking into other little subtle changes they can do here and there just to, diversify their own products and product lines.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I mean, the more innovation, the better.
I'm 100% with you, and I'm 100% for people trying new things and trying to play around with stuff. I think it's great that people do it. This rye comes in at $50, and for me, I think that's a fine price for it. I like the taste
cask
of
strength?
it. No, this is not barrel strength. This is a single barrel. They have a barrel strength that's 113 to 116 proof.
Well, it's from a single barrel, but as you pointed out on a chat recently, it can't be called single barrel whiskey if 2 barrels are used, right?
So it is a single barrel of rye that was re-barreled. So you could still call it a single barrel. You just can't call it.
Rye gets away with things bourbon can't.
No, bourbon, you could still call it a single barrel. That's what I said in that discussion group we had. It's still a single barrel of bourbon that was re-barreled, but it is no longer bourbon when you re-barrel it. You have to call it whiskey. So you could have single barrel bourbon re-barreled in another barrel.
But then it's not bourbon, it's whiskey.
Yes, but it's like how Angel's Envy says straight bourbon aged in port wine casks. It really should be whiskey when it's aged in the port wine cask, but they get around it by saying straight bourbon aged in casks.
I mean, I get it. Sorry if this drug on for anybody, but I think at least John and I will agree that the takeaway at the end of the day is there's still no bourbon police. Folks could almost put whatever they want and they're not going to get arrested, quote unquote. And most importantly, either it's good or it's bad and you want to drink it. We'll leave it at that.
TTB is going to start arresting people soon.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm sure you've applied for a spot, right?
Hell yeah.
Big Cat here. Open your doors.
Zeke, are you buying this at $50 or no?
I'm on the fence. I hadn't played that card in a while, so I'm going to burn it. I'm impressed by this. I would really like to have those folks on at some point, and I'm sure they won't tell us all the ins and outs of proprietary things, but this is the type of innovation that I really like to see and hear about. As we said over and over, there's only going to be so many sources for juice, but there's a lot of people getting in the market and the game right now. Either you just put out the same thing as everybody else, or you find new and innovative ways to craft your own product out of the original base product and have something unique. And that's what I really appreciate right now.
Well, I'm 100% in on this. And when I find a rye like this that doesn't taste so MGP 95.5 to me, I'm in. $50 I think is a solid price to pay for this. So I am a buy. And we want to thank the folks over at Buzzard's Roost for sending this our way. We really appreciate it. You can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us wherever you download your podcast. Chances are you already have because you're listening to us right now. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
I'm still hanging out here in good old Nashville, Tennessee, and Big Cat still sitting up in the Buzzard Roost eating a turkey leg in the animal kingdom.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
Cheers.
Ciao.